Hey, what's going on, beautiful Jellyfish? This is Tracy, and today I'm going to be doing a video talking to you about Angels Part 2. I will list Part 1 in the down bar below. This is just talking about Angels. Angels are probably like my favorite archetype, tribe, whatever in Magic. The art on them is just so beautiful, and a lot of times they're just super badass ladies, and I love that. So let's get into it. The first video I talked a lot about like mono white angels, but in this video I'm talking more about some red-white angels, which is super exciting. Let's get into it. So the first angel I want to talk about is Bassandra, Battle Seraph. I love this card. I had one for like a really long time, and I was like, I don't even know like what deck like I'm supposed to put this in, because I have mono white angels, and then when I built 5-color ladies, I had like the opportunity to run a lot of these sweet dual colored angels, which was awesome. Bassandra is super awesome. She's a 5-mana 4/4 flyer. Players can't cast spells during combat. And then for a red mana, target creature attacks this turn if able, which is really sweet if you're doing anything where you have like Death Touch or like Indestructible or like whatever, and you just make an opponent attack, which is great. And she's a really sweet commander. I think a very underrated commander. I'd really love to see more of her. And then players can't cast spells during combat. Like, you could just totally blow so many of your opponents out. Yes, it does kind of limit you, like, where you may not want to run as many instants or combat tricks or anything like that. But, like, honestly, this just shuts, like, a lot of people out for doing things during combat, which is great. I'm a huge fan of Bassandra. I'd love to see her used more. I think she's great. Okay, this is an angel, I think, that hits home for a lot of people, and I'm one of those people, that is Baneslayer Angel. Still just continues to be one of the most beautiful card arts ever, and iconic cards and iconic angels, and she's just awesome. She's a 5-mana 5/5 flying, first strike, lifelink, protection from demons and dragons. Like, honestly, I would have just been like 5-mana 5/5 flying, first strike, like, okay, sweet, but like with that lifelink in there, and then pro demons and dragons, which, I mean, depending, if you're putting this in EDH, like, there have been times where it can be relevant, but seriously, just she's a huge body and just does so many different things, gaining 5 life per turn, flying, she's got evasion, first strike, just everything about her. Card is great. Love this card. Okay, the next card is Archangel of Tithes. I actually have to say, I've come to terms with a lot of like death and taxes type of cards. Like, I find myself like putting them in EDH, because I have this card in Angels, and I have like being really into like death and taxes cards, and I never ever saw myself as someone who'd be interested in cards like that, but I'm a huge fan. She's a 4-mana 3/5 with flyer. Like, that's already sweet. She's got a great body. As long as she's untapped, creatures can attack you or planeswalker you control unless they pay 1 for each of those creatures. Super good against like really aggressive types of decks that have a lot of creatures. And then when she's attacking, creatures your opponent's control can't block unless they pay 1 for each of those creatures. She's a really, really great card on their own. I love the fact that she's super great offensively and defensively. And there's so many ways to give vigilance. Like, honestly, this plus like always watching, like, come on, this is great. I'm a huge fan of Archangel of Tithes. I think she's very underrated and very underplayed, but I really like her a lot. She's been super useful in Angels, and I really like her. Okay, this is a card that is very close to my heart, and that is Amara Angel. Definitely, I would say one of the more underplayed angels, I guess, but the card's great. It's a 4-mana 3/3 with flyer, and then landfall. Whenever you play a land, you get a 1/1 bird. Like, this is so good in like anything. If you're like, hey, I just really like flavor and I really like angels, and I'm just looking for some to like put in my deck, like, put Amara Angel in there. Like, she's so good. I think it's a she. It may be a he, I'm not too sure. Card's just like so good. I mean, every time you play a land, and it's even if you're not playing a lot of like land like ramp or anything like that, it's just really good. I found this card to be useful in so many different situations, and the promo is just like to die for. The art is so beautiful. I love this card. Okay, Aurelia, the Warleader. I talked in the beginning about how when I had mono white angels before I built ladies, I was so bummed because I was missing out on running like all these sweet dual colored angels, And I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to run Aurelia, because I ran Aurelia when I originally had Kalia, and when I took that deck apart, I was so bummed because I didn't get the chance to play with Aurelia. And then I built Ladies, and I was like, yes, I get to run Aurelia again, because she's just awesome. She's kind of a lot of mana. I mean, she's 6 mana for a 3/4, but she's got Flying, Vigilance, and Haste. And I've been mentioning recently how I'm just a huge fan of like Haste. That's been like my thing as of late. I've been like, cool, these cards are sweet, but like what if they had Haste? You know, whenever she attacks, for the first time each turn, you untap all creatures and then you just get an additional combat phase. Like, please tell me what deck like she isn't going to be good in. If you're like, hey, I'm running like red-white, like what should I run? Put Aurelia in there. If you're like, hey, I'm looking for a new commander, make Aurelia your commander. Like, she's good in so many different types of decks. She's such a flexible creature. Love her. I can't tell you how many times she's been useful. I'm so excited to have the opportunity to play with her again. She's the bomb.com. Okay, then we have Angel of Serenity. She's 7 mana for a 5/6 flyer. She ETBs, you may exile up to 3 target creatures from the battlefields. And or creatures from graveyards. I feel like I never use that ability, but, you know, that's the last ability, but that's really cool. And then when she leaves the battlefield, you return those exiled cards to their owner's hands. Okay. So, Angel of Serenity is really sweet. I think a lot of people are like, oh, well, like, when she leaves the battlefield, like, they get their creatures back, but it's really good against, like, decks that run, like, tokens, because then you just exile those cards permanently. You can exile your own creatures, so this actually can be useful if for some reason you need to exile your own creatures. Yeah, she's really sweet. I like her. She's got a really, really big body. Really good if you like blink her, if you like need to blink her because something else threatening came along, or like she dies and you have a way to bring her back, and then you can like target more creatures that are more threatening than the stuff you've exiled under her. I really like her. I think she's an underrated card, but I'm a huge fan. Okay, one of the most hated angels, that is Iona. I have to say, disclaimer, I have only ever Iona'd people if they have been playing multicolored decks. I would never Iona someone if they were playing a monocolored deck unless they were winning and I was gonna die the next turn. That is like the only time I'd ever do that. That's just my personal playstyle. I just think that's super rude. I know there's people who play that and don't care, but she's awesome. I mean, guys, she's like a 9 mana 7/7 flying. She ETBs, you choose a color, and your opponents can't cast spells with that color. Like, what is not to love about a super good, oppressive, rude card like this? But like, even so, I mean, guys, she's a lot of mana, and she also has like those white symbols, so you gotta make sure, you know, if you're playing in multicolored decks, you know, that you have the triple white. She's like 9 mana. It's probably gonna take you a couple of turns to get there, but she is so good. She's definitely a splurge-worthy card, I would say, if you're like looking for cards to splurge on. Like, add her to your list if you don't already own one. Like, there's nothing more satisfying than casting Iona. Like, really, she's definitely up there in me. And it's funny because I'm talking about her and I feel like I haven't really talked about her. I tend not to talk about my Angels deck just because I don't play it a lot, because I'm not saying it's the best deck in the world ever. It's just a ton of fun. It's like Tribal Angels, and it's just board wipes, and it's really fun and very, very mean, and that evasion really kills people a lot. Like, they just can't deal with flying. So I tend not to talk about like the angels in there, which is cool of doing this video. So yeah, Iona, oh, love her. She's near and dear to my heart. Okay, another card that I hadn't gotten the opportunity to play with before I built Ladies, and that is Gisela. And she and Aurelia are like, must be like long lost cousins or something, because I always like, they always just remind me of each other. Like, I don't know, not that I get them confused, it's just like, I'm like, they're like twins or something. She's kind of a lot of mana. She's like 7 mana for a 5/5, but she's got flying and first strike. And if a source would deal damage to an opponent or a permanent, you like double that damage, but then like if a source deals damage to you, you prevent half that damage. So she's just like everything you want in a card. Like, really, there's really no excuse to run this, to like not run this card. Like, even if you're not running like a damage heavy deck, like you're running like massive amounts of lightning bolts to the face, anything, I don't care. Always run Gisela. She's amazing. She's a really, really great commander. And just good in like every situation. Like, come on, you know. I love cards that are so, like, don't get me wrong, specific cards are specific cards and those are great too, but like I love cards like this that it's like, I'm not just talking about this for like Angel tribal decks. I'm talking about this in like a bunch of different decks that are totally applicable. So, card's great. Okay, one of my favorite cards that I feel like blows people out of the water, and that is Sunblast Angel. This is a card that I feel like people just aren't really expecting. It's just really great. It ETBs and you destroy all tapped creatures. Yes, it is specific. It's situational. You have to have your opponent having tapped creatures, but like, let's be honest here. I mean, in the majority of games, this is going to be relevant. And then on top of that, you're left with like a huge flyer. You're left with like a 4/5 flyer. Like, come on. Card's great. It's not really a lot to say. I'm a huge fan. I love this card. And the last card for this video is a card that I remember when Amara Shepard came to be. Like, I remember when this card came out, and I was like, I need this card. I think that's like one of my favorite parts about sets coming out. Like, even if I don't, like, Rivals just came out and I didn't do any videos on that, but it's super cool to like see the different sets, because I'm like, okay, like, which of these cards am I going to use for EDH? Like, that's when you know you're an EDH player, because you look at sets and you're like, cool, okay, what cards do I want? You know, you make your little list. At least that's what I do. And I remember when this card specifically came out, like, I remember seeing this card printed being like, that is totally going in my Angels deck. So fantastic in mono white color decks, I would say, because if you have that plane, it just goes back to the battlefield. But even if you don't, I mean, like, in my mono white deck, I do have some cards that aren't planes. The majority of them are planes. I do have a couple, like, non. But anyways, she's 7 mana for a 4/4 flyer landfall. When land ETBs, you may return target non-land permanent from your graveyard to your hand, and if it's a planes, you get that card back to the battlefield. This is like a recursion player's heaven. Like, this is just makes me so happy. She's got a great body, and just the fact of like bringing things back. And again, even if you have like non-plane permanents, it's still really great. Getting cards back to your hand is a really sweet advantage. Love this card. Absolutely a must. I think my one issue with this card is that I feel like I don't have enough things dying in my Angels deck to justify this card, but I have to run it anyway for the off chance that my things do end up in the graveyard, and I need a way to bring them back. So, card is just really incredible. I could see this working in, like, as I was saying before, I totally yawned. That was super attractive. Really good, I feel like, in decks that like artifact type decks, and I feel like this sounds weird in there, but like artifact decks where like you want cards to be in your graveyard, but you also want to bring them back because they have like ETB effects, but they also have like, you know, when they die triggers and things. I think this would belong really well in there if you're doing any sort of like artifact cool theme deck, or just like anything really that you have stuff in your graveyard. It's just, card's just gonna be great. Guys, that is it. That is it for Angels Part 2. I definitely want to do Part 3 of this because favorite tribe. Love this tribe. Love the art. Love everything about Angels. We'll continue to love them till the end of time. And it's funny because I feel like in some things in Magic, and I mean, I guess just life too, like some things it's just like you totally grow out of and you're like, okay, I can see myself growing out of this thing in a couple of years. But like Angels have been the thing since I have started playing Magic that I have loved. Like, I started playing Magic like, God, it's been like 5 years, I think, 5 years ago, and like I still love them just more, if not as much, like when I started playing. So that is it. I will see you guys in my next video.